Good morning, everybody. It's 6:05, 10th of June 2020, and I'm going to make a video which exposes the biggest self-deception that human beings have ever made. That self-deception stops us from seeing reality. Reality all works together as a common system of matter. The solar system is made of the elements. The star is made of the elements. Biology, chemistry, virology, and genetics are all the study of the elements, and so is the weather. So it's all the same matter. But when you go to university, you get separated out into different departments, and there is no university on the earth which has a department in the middle looking for the common link. The reason that we can't find a common link is because we're not looking for it in the right way. The way that you look for a link is to lay out all the evidence that we've got and then say we haven't got the link. You tell the truth and say this system is flawed. It's a self-failing system. I'm going to give you the link today, and if I give you the evidence in a form that you can understand, you can make up your own mind. This self-deception isn't just coming from universities and the way that we teach. It's actively pushed by people like the BBC, who make beautiful science programs with Brian Cox, pushing on you a false idea. He doesn't say it, he implies that the laws of physics explain solar systems, snowflakes, molecules, biology, chemistry, the weather, and they do not. And he doesn't say so. He talks around it in fancy language, and he uses deception. This is how he does it. What he does, he says, I'm a physicist, and I'm fascinated how the laws of nature produce all this diversity and complexity. Check that out on Wonders of the Solar System on the introduction. But he used the word physicist. He said, I'm a physicist too, and I'm fascinated by how the laws of nature. What do the laws of nature mean, Brian? Because there's no link between the laws of nature in any university, so you don't know. So tell the truth and say so. We don't know. When he talks about the snowflake, he implies it's all explained by physics. But if I look in this book here, it talks about the snowflake problem. And here's the evidence you need to make up your own mind. If I look at the underlying laws of physics of an atomic particle, you can see here there's a completely uniform electrical field. If something is completely uniform and shows, as Frank Close, particle physicist, states correctly, they have no prejudice to stick together in one direction over another. And yet, molecules have beautiful geometries. Where's that geometry coming from? Not the physics. Physics explains uniformity, the second law of thermodynamics. Systems seek equilibrium. That doesn't explain the solar system, which is a very accurate clock, which self-assembled and self-organized out of nothing more than dust. And it can do that because it has a mechanism which conserves information and allows order to build up. At the atomic scale, there's another mechanism which conserves information and allows complexity and order to build up, and that's DNA. Now, let's solve the problem for you. There's something missing from physics which explains the self-organization of matter. And we've had that something for about 30 years, but because of the way our brains work, we haven't recognized it. About 30 years, well, more than 30 years ago, we found a set of laws which apply to the behavior of systems of matter, which is not physics. It's an addition to physics. And so in this book here, this book is called Chaos and Nonlinear Dynamics by Robert C. Hilbaum. And constantly through the book, he keeps saying, there's something wrong with what we're doing. Page 60, he says, we need to cast off the blinders which most 20th century physicists have warned and explained nature at a new level of explanation. You see, the rules of chaos are as experimentally testable as any physics. Anybody who does the experiment, you get the same result, but you need computers to do it. So people like Einstein had no access to the laws of chaos. If you've got something like a chaotic pendulum, it's just chaotic. But that chaos can't be explained by the laws of physics. It moves by the laws of physics. Gravity makes it move, and the atomic laws hold it together, but the actual motion is explained by the laws of chaos. So I need the laws of chaos and the laws of physics working as a partnership to describe nature. Now, in this book here, the laws of physics are never mentioned once. And if I look in a physics book, the laws of chaos are never mentioned once. There are two different sets of laws, which when you put them together, cause systems to self-organize. And nobody is saying that. Nobody's even looking for that. But the evidence which I can give you here means that you can make up your own mind. Now, if we're throwing out the laws of physics as causality, what causes action? Every action in the universe must have a cause. Einstein has thrown out gravity as being a physical cause. How could it be? There's nothing physical to make the planets move. What's he replaced it with? He replaced it with the geometric theory of gravity. Geometric, that's mathematics. It's matter changing its geometry and forming spheres. It's space changing its geometry and forming negative curvature, hyperbolic curves. So it's matter and space obeying mathematical rules. Matter and space are forced to obey those rules. That's like quantum mechanics. There's no forces making electron orbitals behave as they do. It's a mathematical rule called spherical harmonics. And gravity, electrical fields, and magnetic fields are also explained by spherical harmonics. Physics, biology, chemistry, genetics, virology, astronomy, chaos, the weather, are all explained by mathematical rules. But nobody's saying that. There's silence, and that silence stops today. I work with a small team who understand this, and we wrote and published an article in Bioscience Today saying, what is life? It can only be explained by mathematical rules. These beautiful patterns, which you see all over nature, can only be there if nature is using the mathematics which makes the patterns. Simple logic, and that mathematics cannot be explained by the laws of physics. If it could, Einstein, Euler, and all the other brilliant mathematicians would have done so in 10 minutes. You look at a cube of salt, bees wax, human body, that cannot be explained by the uniformity in the underlying laws of physics, but they can be explained by mathematics. So let's start to tell the truth. Mathematics is causality in the universe. And if anybody wants to take me on and say that it isn't, then you have to go back to having no explanation of how nature works. If I have a combination of chaos and physics, what I get is an active driving mechanism which pushes systems of matter up a complexity gradient. The second law of thermodynamics just seeks equilibrium. But now we've found the laws of chaos and we can add them to physics. We find that systems of matter can push away from equilibrium and climb a complexity gradient. And if I have a mechanism like DNA, which conserves information, the system just gets more and more complex, like a rainforest. Evolution is not just happening by chance. It can't. A single protein would never evolve in the lifetime of the whole universe if it's happening by chance. So that is nonsense, and that nonsense stops today. Luckily, I've found people who are prepared to tell the truth. Journalists who will say, well, let's have a look at what you've got. We send that magazine to over 100 universities, and they all refuse to comment. I went into a university. I said, I want to show this to the students and to the academics. And the university banned me. And that university knows who it is, and that will come home to roost. When universities won't look at evidence, imagine sitting in a court of law and saying to the judge, no, we're not going to look at anything. We're going to make up our minds without looking. Well, that finishes today, because my team know what the truth is. And we're going to tell you by making videos like this. Nature is explained by the laws of mathematics, and physics is a part of that, and that explains the simple uniformity at the base. If what I'm saying is true, then we should find prime numbers in the construction of atoms, because prime numbers are the building blocks of the number system. Atoms are the building blocks of matter. Well, my good luck, a gentleman called Dan King sent me this. Now what this is, this shows a one-to-one match between prime numbers at the top and electron orbital shells at the bottom. What he did was not to look at the prime numbers themselves, but look at the gaps in between. And when you do that, you find a one-to-one match between the gaps in prime numbers and electron orbital shells. Done. Now, this is a wake-up for all of you. I am prepared to be held to account on any stage, in any university, and tell the truth. But you have to want the truth. Nature is far more wonderful than physics. See you. Bye.